Have you ever been in a conversation where, despite saying everything you needed to, you walked away feeling like you lost? That tightness in your throat, like every word, only distanced you from your own strength. Maybe you're often surrounded by people who speak loudly, interrupting, mocking, dominating, wearing arrogance like confidence. And maybe, deep down, you've believed that staying silent meant weakness. That not defending yourself meant surrendering. That not reacting meant losing. But what if that's all an illusion? What if true power has never been in words, but in their absence? Nietzsche, one of the most misunderstood thinkers in history, recognized a truth few dare to face. Those who talk too much reveal too much. Those desperate to convince are already on the losing side. Society teaches us to fight, to defend, to argue, as if every exchange were a battle to win. But nature proposes something far more subtle, more intelligent, more dangerous. Silence. Silence destabilizes. It forces others to face themselves. This message is for the quiet ones, the overlooked, the misread. For those tired of being the peacekeepers while others exploit their calm. You may have mistaken your silence for submission. Today, that changes. You'll see silence not as absence, but as your ultimate power. Let's explore Nietzsche's ideas. Learn how to command any space without a single word. So, if this message resonated with you, subscribe. Turn on notifications to help this channel growth. Okay, let's continue. Why do we feel the urge to respond, to argue, to prove we're right? Because we've been taught that truth must be defended violently if necessary. That silence means we let others win. Nietzsche saw it differently. He believed this was our deepest weakness, our fear of seeming weak. Behind this fear, the ego. Fragile, easily threatened, desperate to be right. Nietzsche observed that most people don't argue to find truth. They argue for control. They seek validation not from strength, but from fear that, if questioned, everything might fall apart. In this sense, arguing isn't wisdom, it's armor. It's the ego's defense mechanism, screaming for control. And when you feel the need to justify yourself, know this, you've already entered their game. And you've lost. The very act of explaining shows that you still crave acceptance. You still want to be understood. You're still trapped. Nietzsche called this herd morality. Living under the rules of others. Seeking approval. Trying to be seen as good, correct, just. But this quest for approval is what keeps you small. True strength, Nietzsche taught, is in not needing to convince anyone. It's holding your vision through ridicule, criticism, and rejection. It's being misunderstood and remaining still. This is not about verbal victory. It's about internal mastery. It's about staying grounded when everyone else is spinning. To win, you must understand this. Arguments are theater. And the first one to speak loses. Nietzsche knew reaction is submission. Observation is power. So, if words betray us, how do we project strength? How do we make others feel our presence without saying a thing? Nietzsche's answer was the Übermensch, the one who rises above conventional morality, who commands through sheer self-mastery. The Übermensch does not debate. He does not play petty emotional games. He observes. He waits. He chooses his words with precision and, more often, chooses silence. Because he understands. Silence is not emptiness. It's presence. His silence is not a void. It's a wall. A gaze that speaks louder than arguments. A presence that commands. While others over-explain, he remains still in that stillness. Others begin to unravel. This is not passivity. This is control. Strategic economy. Every word reveals. Every emotional reaction, a weak point. That's why he holds back, not because he lacks the words, but because he doesn't need them. His silence says, I've already won. And in that silence, others see themselves, hear their own noise. In a world of noise, the masters of silence are kings. The Übermensch creates his own values. He isn't bound by guilt, fear, or the need for approval. He cannot be manipulated. His silence is his shield, and when he speaks it, shatters illusions. But why is silence so unsettling to others? Because it removes their control. Psychologically, silence is perceived as judgment. It exposes, it amplifies insecurity. In a silent room, people hear their own voice too clearly. They begin to project. Are they judging me? Did they see through me? And in this uncertainty, they unravel. Modern psychology confirms what Nietzsche intuited. Silence destabilizes the manipulator, disarms the insecure. People speak to fill the void between what they say and who they are. And when you say nothing, that mask begins to crack. Manipulators lose their grip without your reaction. Trauma resurfaces. The narcissistic ego collapses without your validation. That is why silence is powerful. It hurts. It triggers. It transforms. But it also requires strength. Because silence goes against everything you've been taught. To react, to justify, to explain. That's why it's rare. And that's why it's power. So how do you begin using silence as a weapon? How do you dominate a space without dominating a word? Here are the tools. 1. Be silent when you most want to speak. That urge to respond, it's ego. Train yourself to resist, to pause. 2. Observe like a hunter. Don't listen to reply. Listen to learn. See the contradictions. Hear the insecurities beneath the arrogance. 3. Let silence linger. Let them fill the gap with paranoia and projection. Your stillness becomes unbearable for them. 4. Be unpredictable. If they can't anticipate you, they fear you. They tread lightly. You become the gravitational center of every exchange. But make no mistake, silence is not weakness. It's calculated. It's alive with meaning. When the time comes, speak. But do it like a scalpel, not a sword. Not to shout, but to end the discussion. Because your silence already said everything. But not all silence is power. Some silence is submission. A slow surrender. There are those who use your calm to conquer you. They speak louder. Take more space. Win by default. And you? You convince yourself it's not worth the fight. But that peace you protect, it's costing you everything. Nietzsche warned us about this false peace. He called it slave morality, a morality of obedience, of guilt, of niceness. It teaches you to be small and call it virtue. But Nietzsche didn't write for the resigned, he wrote for those ready to break free. When your silence becomes your cage, you've lost your voice. Not just the one you speak with, but the one that defines you. You become what others need you to be. And that is not power. That is erasure. So how do you rise? How do you go from silence as submission to silence as sovereignty? By becoming what Nietzsche called the Übermensch, a being who doesn't beg to be seen, who doesn't explain to be accepted, who simply is. The silence of the Übermensch isn't the silence of the shy. It's the silence of the warrior who has already won. Look at your life. How many times have you stayed quiet out of fear? Out of guilt? Out of wanting to keep the peace? Enough? From now on, your silence must change. No longer an escape. It must become a presence, a boundary, a declaration. Even if no one understands, you will. And that's enough. Comment below. I choose the silence.